In 1984, Samhain released their album Initium, and my friend John and I are going to talk about it on this episode of Records with Ray. Okay, John, so the million-dollar question is it pronounced Samhain or Samhain?
I understand that the correct pronunciation is Samhain.
Yeah.
Of course, I say Samhain.
Yeah, and the reason why is because if you did try to say Samhain, people are like,
Well, who the hell's that?
But Danzig actually says, was it "Say goodbye to the Samhain vibe"?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I've gone into record shops way back when I was, die hard, searching things out, and I would say, do you have any Samhain albums? And they're just like, what?
Like, Sam Hain. Oh, yeah.
And then I've also seen it where it's Sam Hain, as in, hello, Mr. Hain, can I help you today?
Mr. Hain.
It's like, no, that's not it at all.
I remember, again, like you were like the biggest Misfits fan that I knew of. And then I remember you'd always be, every once in a while, you'd be sporting like Sam Hain paraphernalia, T-shirt. Mm-hmm. And, it was like the album cover of Initium. Pull it up. Yep. And I remember, like, if anything that makes if any album that makes an impression on you,
yeah,
it's this. It's like you got the three dudes, all covered in blood. They all got the devil locks. And
I mean, Eerie looks evil as fuck.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, I'm interested. Obviously, they're related to the Misfits. How? Okay, so who exactly is Sam Hain?
That's the Spirit of Halloween.
No, the band.
Oh, the band.
Because eventually, like the Misfits broke up.
Yep, it was Eerie Von.
Why did the Misfits break up?
I guess because Danzig wanted to go in one direction, and Jerry only thought it should just stay more in like the Walk Among Us direction. And I feel like, just from reading articles and stuff over the years, I feel like really Danzig just felt he needed to go to a next level. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't going to get that with Misfits because it would have changed that band too much.
Yeah.
And the Misfits were the Misfits. Now this is chapter 2. This is Sam Hain.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
so it was,
of all the things that have been said over the years and whatnot, I feel like that is just the heart of it.
Yeah, and let's be on. Let's talk about the album. It's definitely a lot different than the Misfits. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
that.
Absolutely.
A little slower.
Mm-hmm.
A little darker.
Yep.
Well, really darker.
Yeah.
I think they actually do a remix of.
There's Horror Biz on there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's definitely a lot different. So we got Glenn Danzig, Eerie Von, and then who's that? Is that Steve Zing?
Steve Zing, yep.
And then I heard that Lyle Preslar was in.
Yeah.
Was in the band at one point. And was this a situation where Glenn was actually singing and playing guitar live?
It would have been, yeah, at that time. Now I don't know how long.
Or did he
did that until
they got another?
Until they got the guitar player. Yeah. It's funny because Sam Hain, the tapes that my cousin made me.
Yeah.
Sam Hain was on there, but there wasn't a lot of it. He was very picky with Sam Hain, where he only liked a handful of songs. Yeah. So I had those tapes for a long time, and then when I finally started, building up my own collection, listening to this album, listening to Initium, set everything in its place for me. So it wasn't just a song here and a song there.
Yeah, because there are certain songs on this album that aren't too far away from Misfits. Like right. Black Dream, All Murder, All Guts, All Fun, Could Be, He Who Cannot Be Named.
Yep. One of my favorite. Archangel, that's one of my favorite.
But those
that's not really a Misfits.
But those are songs that wouldn't be too far away. But like Archangel, The Howl, The Shift, all these other ones are definitely, they would not be. But when you first heard this as a Misfits fan, what did you think?
It was funny because at first, just like you thought, it was slow. It was slower and darker.
Yeah.
Which I didn't mind so much, but I was really into like faster stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, as I got, I don't know if it was when I, had to take a break from the Misfits one day and I'd throw Samhain in.
Yeah.
And it just grew on me, so much to the point where there are some times where I'm even like, I think Samhain's, I might like him better than the Misfits.
I remember there were certain points in time where you were all about Samhain.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit of time for me to warm up to him. Mm-hmm. But once I did, I loved him.
Yeah. There's just so many layers, and like it's just so interesting. And then it was funny. Well, you were kind of talking about how that album with some of the songs that are a little bit different than the Misfits. Yeah. Well, it was funny because when I first started getting into them, and I would notice that the Wall of Sound always had the Samhain stuff in the metal section, and that used to piss me off, and I'd always take it out.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, well, what would you consider them?
Well,
are they punk?
At the time,
or are they metal?
At the time, I considered it punk because it was just. To me, it was just so different that's kind of... I just felt it was kind of like a gothic punk kind of thing, but not as you know it today.
Yeah, well, if there's anything you can say about Glenn Danzig or the Misfits or Samhain for that matter, is that they were actually writing the book, writing the rules as they were going along as far as like what punk it was concerned. Because... Okay, well, let's back it up. I mean, going into the early '80s, there was two types of punk. You had the British punk, mm-hmm. So it wasn't out of place to wear like a leather jacket, but you had spikes. Yep. You had a mohawk. You had boots, yep. Or you had like the American punk, where kind of like when you look at pictures of Black Flag or the Dead Kennedys, yep. Or the Circle Jerks, jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah,
and if you see the Misfits, well, first of all, they got the Devil Lock thing, which is a unique thing,
right?
But they're like wearing leather jackets, but then they got like these big ass spikes out of it. There's definitely like this horror thing, but they were literally writing what would you call horror punk?
Horror punk, yeah.
And same thing with Samhain. I don't know of any other band that sounds like them,
right?
Or even Danzig as the band,
right? Yeah, and for me, when Danzig did Danzig, that was chapter 3.
Okay.
Like, it was just, these were stepping stones into...
Do you think that, like, say the first Danzig album would have been the next Samhain album? Would that have worked, or do you think no?
No, I don't think it would have.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe some of the later Danzig albums would. I feel like he almost went back to that.
Yeah.
Which... was fine with me. It's just I don't think that album would have worked as a Samhain album.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just they're just a great band. I missed seeing them by like a year, which really bummed me out once I figured out that I had just missed them.
Like what year are we talking?
I think it would have been... There was a flyer that was posted on an electric box, and I feel like it was probably around like 86 or 87. And I started going to shows late 87.
Damn.
Yeah, so like a year earlier, I may have gotten a chance to see him.
Did you get to see them when he kind of got back together?
Yeah. How was that? When they toured with Danzig. I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of crazy shit at shows.
Yeah.
That show at the Electric Factory in Philly, I felt was one of the most violent shows I'd ever been at.
Wow.
And not even so much that it was violent because of the music, but there were so many fights. And people were just I remember the bodyguards were grabbing kids, and those doors that you gotta like push to open up?
Yeah.
They were just slamming the kids into the door.
They were using the kid to push the door
until the door opened. So it didn't maybe they didn't hit that bar the first couple times. It was crazy. I mean, I just remember I was like, holy, people are going freaking nuts. And it was awesome. I loved it. I mean, I just loved it.
Or you realize it ain't so much because it was Samhain at Philly. It's just because it was in Philadelphia.
City of brotherly love.
City of brotherly love.
But yeah, no. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't ever listened.
I think if anyone's watching this video, they're probably already a fan. Like we're trying to sell something. Right. I'll tell you what,
you
people. If you want some good horror punk, go out and buy Samhain's Initium today. It only came out like 30.
Or people who've listened to it and didn't like it. Maybe it's time to give them a second chance.
Yeah, well, now we're going to be the ones that changed their mind.